Hello, my name is Matthew, and my little book channel had reached 2,500 subscribers, and I put out a call for questions to do a Q&A as a way of introducing myself and saying thank you and having some fun. And I got a great response. There's a whole bunch of questions, and I thought we could go through them together, and this should be great. And we'll just start. The first question is from Blake Akis, and uh, when presented with a variety of translations for a book, how do you go about selecting one to read? I know it probably varies depending on the type of book, but in general, what makes a translation a good translation? And so for the first question, um, if I know nothing about the book or the author and I'm not familiar with any of the translations or translators, I would usually just try to find the most standard or authorized translation available, one that would be in a major publication like Penguin or Oxford, something along those lines. My other consideration is usually to look for a translation that's relatively modern, within 50 years or 100 years, something like that. If it's an older work, an ancient work, or um, a couple hundred years old, a translation that is 100, 200 years old will be a product of its time. And I think Lydia Davis, in her translator's note for her translation of Madame Bovary, um, made the assertion that every generation deserves their own translation of Madame Bovary. And I think that applies to every great work of art or anything that survives. Um, the idea of a good translation is um, a work that makes the original accessible and enjoyable. I think maybe that answers both questions. Um, Dan Coogan, not a question, but just loving those redwood bookcases. All the best on your quest to travel to Spain. God bless. Well, thank you. I love my bookcases as well, and thank you for the well wishes. Trip. When reading a novel, in general, do you value prose, writing style, or plot the most, and why? Um, one of my one of the things that I look for and value and enjoy is um, when the writing style matches the author's personality. When I feel that there's an authenticity behind the style, um, where there's this unique original voice just ringing through. If that's the case, everything else falls in line. The characters will be interesting. I'll care about the plot. So um, it's rare, but when it really sounds like a unique individual is expressing themselves truly and clearly, it's the most amazing experience. Nicholas Bunton. Let's see. Thanks for all the reviews and insights. Just curious, what do you do for a living? And or how do you find time to read so much? Bonus question, thoughts on Pynchon. Well, I recently, at the end of last year, I got laid off, and I just recently started a new job. It's a position at a retail, national chain retail store. Um, so that's what I do for a living. As far as how do I read so much, I make it. I don't make it a priority. It's just a function of my routine. My leisure time is reading. So when I get home and I've done all of the things that I need to do, taking care of the cats or chores around the house, the thing that I like to do is just sit down and read. Um, so I don't put much effort into trying to carve out reading time. It just is a byproduct of my interests. And I'm not very familiar with Pynchon. I think I've read two works of his. Very I mean, it really catches my eye. I need to read more of them to have an opinion that that I could share. Um, Congrats. This is from Drawn to Stories. Congrats on reaching big milestones. Thank you. You often mention this guy Bob in your videos. How did you two meet? And in what ways did you influence each other's reading tastes? And then Summer from Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats said, "Great question. I love it when Matthew talks about Bob." So I met my old friend Bob when I was in college. I was maybe 19 or 20 years old, and I met him outside of a coffee shop. He was sitting at a table having a coffee, reading his paper with his two chocolate labs, and I was sitting at a few tables over trying to edit a paper, and he called me over, and we just um, started talking. We got along really well in a way. He was already in his late 60s, I believe, um, and I didn't read anything. I was not a reader. I didn't read for pleasure. If I had to read something for school, it was an assignment, things like that. Um, and he was the best advisor or mentor or teacher I've ever had. He not only had he read everything, the way that he would talk about books made me want to love love the same thing that he loved. He would it, he would have been a star on Booktube. The way that he could just encapsulate and summarize and communicate the messages and meanings and stories from all of these authors from all over the world. It was incredible. He used to say, I hadn't. I would say, well, I don't really read, and he would say that the greatest minds that ever lived were writing things down, and you can read them. How could you not? I don't know. Let's see. Is that where am I? Oh, and in what way did we influence each other's reading tastes? It was completely one-sided. There was nothing I could offer him in way of recommending a book that was not part of our relationship. We got along because we enjoyed each other's company. I could tell him stories and share my thoughts, but he was the one doing all of the recommendations. Let's see. Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space, great channel. Oh my gosh, a Booktube love story. That should really be a Hallmark movie. LOL, please bless me, bless my 2021 by retelling your love story. So, in case in case you missed it, I last year I met a wonderful woman, and she lives in Spain, and I am determined to get myself over there. And without going into specifics, the way that we met, I had started this little book channel, and I would make videos talking about the books that I had read. Um, my lady friend is a Hemingway fan, and she likes reading the stories and novels of Hemingway. And at some point, she found that Hemingway was an admirer of Turgenev, and she went um, searching on YouTube for discussions or reviews, and she found my video talking about Fathers and Sons, which I had um, read maybe a year or two ago. I can't remember. And that's how she found my channel. And then early, middle last year, when the pandemic struck, there was um, an influx of Zoom conversations happening on Booktube, and all of a sudden, all of these booktubers were having Zoom chats, and it was fabulous, and I wanted to be a part of it. And so I made a video, and I said, does anybody want to have a Zoom chat with me? I'm just sitting here alone while everyone else is having fun talking to one another. And I opened it up to anybody that was watching. I said, it doesn't just have to be another booktuber for a video. Any viewer that wants to talk to me, we can do it in private. And she reached out and said, instead of a Zoom chat, how about a meaningful correspondence through email? And it was great. We started emailing back and forth, and that became more frequent. We started utilizing the Voxer app, so we could send messages back and forth. And very quickly, we were talking every single day, multiple times a day, and that has been going on now for months. And we have a great, strong, substantial, meaningful relationship. So, oh, and then some questions. Are you a foodie? Who were the first booktubers you followed? I really enjoy cooking for others. If for Thanksgiving or Christmas, for example, for years, I would do the cooking for the family. I would wake up first thing in the morning and spend all day in the kitchen. Um, Growing up, I always liked watching all the food channels, and even now on YouTube, I watch lots of food videos, and it's great to make delicious food for other people to enjoy. Um, for myself, I'm a very utilitarian eater. I want to spend as little time in the kitchen as possible. Um, that goes for preparation, consumption, and cleanup. But if I'm cooking for others, I like to make good tasting food. Who were the first booktubers you followed? The first booktuber I found and followed was Eric Carl Anderson, which is just such a welcome introduction to this corner of YouTube and all of these other booktubers. So yeah, Eric Carl Anderson is just fabulous. Favorite philosopher? Probably Plato. I'm not sure that I've ever found much actual meaning in the philosophy, but certainly the best storyteller. Can draw these compelling characters, Socrates and all of the other Greek philosophers and thinkers. I just appreciate that Plato would always frame these dialogues into a story. So Socrates is late for a lecture, or there's a drinking party, or people are just sitting down to talk, or there's going to be a walk in the woods, and then the discussion would begin. I also really appreciate how open-ended the philosophical discussions are. So usually at the end of the dialogue, um, there's not some set conclusion, which I think lends itself really well to um, all of that consistent reading through generations and centuries, and rereading for personal um, personal visits and revisits. And then maybe Kierkegaard. I find him um, good company. Not just his philosophical works, but some of his private writings as well. So, yeah, Plato. There's a couple other people. Uh, Amelia reads. Congratulations, Matthew. Without any doubt, you deserve your channel growth. Why, thank you. Booktube is an amazing place, and one day we will meet in Ireland as well for sure. I hope we do, and we will. Uh, Kelly Hunsacker, are you also on Bookstagram? I have really enjoyed getting to know you through your videos over the past few months. Thank you. Thanks for the great content. Well, thank you for watching. That's great. Bookstagram, so I guess Instagram. I have an Instagram account. It's the same as my channel name. I believe it's just Mayberry Book Club. Uh, and it's mostly just pictures of Andy and Daphne. So I just post pictures of my cats. There's not much book-related content, but it's a good place to see pictures of my two roommates. Roz from Scally Dandling About the Books. Hello, Roz. Congratulations on both milestones in the planned adventure to Spain. What Spanish authors or specific books are favorites of yours, or do you plan to read now that you have a special connection with Spain? And Cervantes is one of my favorite authors without any qualification, but the great Spanish writer Don Quixote is one of my favorite books, and I'm sorry to say that I'm woefully negligent in my reading and investigation into other Spanish literature. I'm working on that now. I just read Nada by Carmen Laforet, which is a great kind of modern book. There's another author, Galdós, who I haven't read yet, but is considered another great Spanish author. And I would ask I would ask anyone that's watching to recommend other Spanish authors. And I've found it tricky because there's just Spanish language authors, which I also want to read, like Latin American and Brazilian and Colombian and Chilean. But I am very interested in authors from Spain. I'd like to, if I possibly could, to acquaint myself with their rich literature in the same way that I have with French literature or Russian literature. Okay, Summer, Cozy Reading with Quaker Cats. Congratulations, Matthew, on the 2 years and 2,500 subscribers. I don't have any questions, but looking forward to year 3. Well, thank you, and I'm looking forward to watching more of your videos. Errata? What time do we have? 20 minutes. Congratulations. My question is, who is your favorite book publisher? So it probably just is either Penguin Classics or the Oxford World Classics. They have been instrumental in my reading life. Most of the great books that I've loved so much, I've found through those publishers. NYRB Classics is great as well. It's much more of an eccentric lineup. It'll be a lot of authors that I've never heard of, or authors that I've heard of, but works that I've never heard of before. Um, and then like Everyman Classics or Everyman Library, those like really pretty hardbacks. They're great to get when there's a book that you just love and want to have for 100 years. They seem really well made, and they look attractive on a shelf. I think we'll kind of wrap up on this session, and then I'll just make another video. So I'll be right back, and thank you.